I'm here with Erich Schwartzel of the Wall Street Journal, author of the terrific book that came out last year, Red Carpet, Hollywood, China, and the Global Battle for Cultural Supremacy. Hi, Erich. Nice to see you.
Hi, Diane. Good to be here. Thank you.
I was thinking as we were debating, Chinese spy balloons and this sort of soft culture war that seems to be going on, I thought, I was reminded of your book that came out last year, terrific book, and I thought, what would Erich make of all this right now? Where are we? So I'm going to start with that. Just the environment we're in, is it kind of playing out the way that you spoke about in the book? Just, it really is, to me, a cultural war going on.
It absolutely is. And one thing that the book taught me, Diane, that was so interesting is that the movies and entertainment and culture is this unbelievable proxy for the broader relationship between the US and China. If you really want to understand where the relations between the two countries are, look to the culture and what culture China is allowing in, what culture China is producing itself. And you can actually kind of read into these, science fiction movies or, co-production treaties, quite an understanding, a rich understanding, I would argue, of the geopolitics of the situation too. And so the spy balloon is just the latest chapter in this very bizarre, complicated, kind of codependent relationship between the two countries and the industries that do business in both.
Well, that particular episode actually reminded me of a 1940s very kitschy movie, the spy balloon and the whole sort of terror of all that. But let's talk about the evolution a bit, because I remember when Deng Xiaoping, I believe it was, doesn't matter what color the cat is, black or white, as long as it catches mice. That was a real period of opening. Of course, we had Tiananmen Square, there's that. But there was this sense of an opening up of the economy and this engagement with the world. Let's look at what's it been like under Xi Jinping, because we're certainly seeing a lot more censorship within China, it seems. Is that playing out as well in the movie sphere?
Oh, absolutely. It's night and day. I mean, under Deng Xiaoping is when we started to see the reforms that allowed Western movies into China in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Hollywood had swept the globe throughout the 20th century and turned America into this kind of cultural city on a hill. Most Chinese audiences didn't see any of those movies that the rest of the world did, because after Mao Zedong's revolution, that kind of Western influence was not permitted in any way. Deng Xiaoping's reforms started to change that, and we started to see this kind of economic partnership taking place. One that I think it's critical to remember was seen as kind of the first step toward a democratic reform, too. I mean, everyone from Bill Clinton to Rupert Murdoch at that time was arguing that these kind of deepening economic ties would inevitably lead to democratic reform. And what we've seen under Xi Jinping is that the cultural arm of the CCP is becoming an essential arm of his kind of more aggressive, militaristic approach toward running the country. So under Xi Jinping, China's kind of propaganda machine has been running at full force. And we've seen also the spigot of Western influence really tightened. So whereas maybe 10, 12 years ago, you might see Hollywood movies and other forms of Western entertainment flowing into China more freely, now it's a much tougher proposition. And we see companies kind of much more beholden to the whims of the CCP and where the wind is blowing than they were before Xi took office.
Well,